The views and opinions expressed on America's Workforce Union podcast and its digital media channels are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of the producers or sponsors.
Welcome to the America's Workforce Radio Podcast, the flagship production of the American Workers Radio and Podcast Network, where organized labor and its never-ending fight to protect the rights of the American worker come first. Now, presented by LIUNA, Laborers International Union of North America. Here's your host, Ed Flash Ferens.
The Union Buster, who referred to union supporters as pigs and trash. Meanwhile, meatball production workers in New Jersey ratify a new collective bargaining agreement. And today on the show, our independent labor voice, Tommy Buffenbarger, and SEIU Local 1021 on the West Coast. Welcome to the Friday, June 26th edition of America's Workforce, where we're available on at least 5 platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Pandora. We have a total of 3 guests joining us on the podcast today. We're going to kick things off with Tommy Buffenbarger, former general president of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. And Tommy's going to kick things off with a story that was posted in the Washington Post this week about the need for a skilled workforce, especially the skilled trade, something that we have been talking about on this show for years. Turns out the survey of contractors, about 80% of contractors in the country, so that's 4 out of 5 are saying, you know what, we need help. We need help. And I know a lot of the unions are cranking up their apprenticeship programs. So Tom's going to speak to that. He's also going to talk about the recent win for 5,000 members, IAM members, District 776. This is in Fort Worth, Texas, where they voted to ratify a new contract with the largest defense contractor in the country. And that would be Lockheed Martin. And also, in case you missed it, the House passed the Faster Labor Contracts Act. We talked about this on the show, which allows arbitrators to impose a union contract on workers if they don't get it done in time. And I mean, Amazon is a good example. Amazon, the workers there in Staten Island, New York, organized 4 years ago. Do they have a contract yet? No. If the Faster Labor Contracts Act passed and the president signed it, they would. So Tom is going to speak to that. Later in the show, we're going to go to the West Coast of California and talk to 2 individuals on behalf of SEIU Local 1021. SEIU Local 1021.org is the website you want to go to. Barbra Lynn Hamilton is the chapter president, and Shelly Martin is a union steward. And we're talking about the support staff for the teachers and what they had to go through to get a decent contract. One of the problems, shortage of staffing, which led to a jump in workplace injuries. Last year, there were 67 workplace violence reports filed. This year, it exploded to 167. Lots of problems. They finally got a contract. We'll talk about it here on America's Workforce. Now, a brief look into the world of labor. This segment brought to you by Boyd Watterson Asset Management. You know, we have a partnership with Bob Funk of Labor Lab. Bob has been on the show several times. In fact, he was on just a couple of weeks ago talking about union busting and how big an industry it is. $1.7 billion spent on union busting in America just last year. Every week he comes out with what's called LM20s that are filed on behalf of union busters saying that, hey, I'm working at XYZ company and I'm going to do my best to make sure that no union is formed over there. And what I want to focus on today is called Labor Relations Solutions. And they actually changed their name. They used to be called Labor Relations Specialists. Thus far, in 2026, Labor Relations Solutions has filed 1 LM20 for 123 Huntington, doing business as Hilton Arcadia in Los Angeles. Their compensation, $3,800 a day. In 2025, labor relations specialist has union busted at Convalarium Operations. They charged $3,500 a day. And Convalarium reported paying the owner of the company over $90,000, totaling $1,062 per worker. Over $1,000 paid per worker to make sure that worker didn't go union or vote for the union. Now, the owner is a former owner of a California-based union avoidance consulting firm called RP and Associates, and he was found to have violated the National Labor Relations Act in a campaign at a company called Greenfleet. This was back in 2013. According to the unfair labor practice charge, the owner unlawfully encouraged the anti-union drivers to harass and provoke union supporters. He tried to provoke union supporters into fighting and encourage anti-union workers to call their pro-union colleagues pigs and trash. He also threatened to sue workers if they did not withdraw their unfair labor practice allegations. He was also found to be an unreliable witness. I got to thank Bob Funk for what he's doing. And if you just Google his name or Labor Lab, just go to laborlab.us. You will see a plethora of information on people just like this, calling workers pigs and trash because they wanted to form a union. Now, some good news. United Food Commercial Workers, Local 152 members at Casa di Bertacci in Vineland, New Jersey, have ratified a new 5-year contract. Highlights of the agreement include guaranteed across-the-board wage increases, reimbursement for work boots, increased contributions to the employer-sponsored 401k, and additional language to comply with the state's earned sick leave law. The negotiation showed that fair wages aren't an abstract idea. They're grounded in real household costs and economic reality. That comment from UFCW Local 152 Director of Collective Bargaining, Louis Fayola. So congratulations to meatball production workers in the great state of New Jersey. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, our independent labor voice, Tom Buffenbarger, will be joining us.
You're listening to America's Workforce with Ed Flash Ferens.
It takes LIUNA to keep America running. Over 70,000 public employees are part of LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, delivering critical services such as healthcare and emergency response, as well as maintaining roads and sanitation systems. Even the National Postal Mail Handlers Union, representing over 47,000 U.S. postal workers, is affiliated with LIUNA. Find out what it takes for LIUNA to keep America running at liuna.org. That's liuna.org.
America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers. You can find more at ifpte.org.
There is unity and strength for workers.
We are the USW.
We are the USW.
The United Steelworkers.
The largest industrial union in North America.
We represent 850,000 members in the U.S., Canada, and the Caribbean.
We work in metals,
rubber,
chemicals,
paper,
oil refining,
atomic energy, and the service sector.
We are steelworkers, standing strong and fighting for what's right.
America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the Ironworkers. You can find more at ironworkers.org. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the Heat and Frost Insulators Labor Management Cooperative Trust. Find out more at insulators.org/LMCT.
America's Workforce is sponsored in part by Boyd Watterson Asset Management, LLC. Find out more about our investment solutions tailored to meet the needs of Taft-Hartley funds at boydwatterson.com.
America's Workforce Radio is sponsored in part by the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 6, representing painters, glazers, drywall finishers, and sign and display industry workers. They remind you that belonging to a union is your right as an American.
American workers are sick of struggling to get by. It's time to get ahead. In the Teamsters Union, workers are winning industry-leading contracts, historically high wages, fully paid health care, and retirement benefits you can count on. Across the country, Teamsters fight alongside our brothers and sisters to secure a better life. It's what we've been doing and how we've been living for more than a century. When we fight, we win. Join us. Be a Teamster.
Now, back to America's Workforce. Here's Ed Flash Ferens.
And remember, you can check us out on Facebook or follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. That would be AWF Union Podcast. AWF Union Podcast. Everything is archived there. You've heard me talk about the need for skilled trades on this podcast. And I'll tell you, there's more and more stories coming out about what we have to do as a country to attract more young people into the trades. We have to rebuild America. Joining us as our featured guest, a longtime contributor to America's Workforce, Tommy Buffenbarger, former general president of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, one of the many proud sponsors of America's Workforce. Go IAM.org is a website. Tom, welcome back to the show, and I guess media is picking up on this story. Talk to me about the Washington Post, what they reported this week about what we need to do in America to prepare the future workforce. And primarily, two words, skilled trades. Talk to me about it.
Skilled trades is right, Flash. What we've got a serious, a critical, maybe even a dangerous situation in this country, not having enough people with the training, the skills, and the experience to manufacture an economy that'll take us into the future. There was a recent study done about AI. We've all heard about artificial intelligence, what that's going to mean for the future, and the great fear that AI will be used to replace workers in their jobs. However, this study focuses on the fact that AI will create job opportunities for people who have skills. And I'm talking about electricians, plumbers, painters, carpenters, all the building trades unions who are going to be needed to build the infrastructure to support AI. It's ironic the study didn't mention the people who actually build the stuff that creates AI. That's the machinists and the tool and die makers of the world who design the equipment and the machine tools that manufacture all the stuff that goes into these data centers. So yes, there's going to be a terrible rush for these type of jobs, but there's no workers to fill them because we don't train people to do this work anymore. The study pointed out that in America's apprenticeship and skilled training programs, we spend an average of $4,000 total on training a skilled tradesperson when we need to spend somewhere in the vicinity of probably $50,000 just for the training aspect of it on average. The study pointed out we probably need a $9 billion investment right now into the skilled trades training programs that exist and for the ones that need to be created. And I would love to see that because for 40, almost 50 years in this business, we've talked about training, and all I've seen as a result of it is the elimination of apprenticeships, the elimination of trade schools and the education system, and the narrowing or the closing, the choking off of opportunity for people to learn a skilled trade and end up in lifetime earnings making as much or maybe more than a lot of the college degree programs we have available out there today. I'm hoping this story gets some traction. I have great doubts that it will, but I applaud those who undertook the effort.
Tom, let me ask you something here. Because they did not invest in the skilled trades, and I'm talking America as a whole here over the last couple of decades, do you feel that was an anti-union thing? Because, we're talking a union-dominated group here, the trades. There's trades that are non-union, let's be honest about that. But you want the gold standard. The gold standard is the union apprenticeship program. I'm just wondering, because that being said, the powers to be said, well, maybe we'll just, kind of shy away from that. What do you think?
Flash, that has a lot to do with it, along with very short-sighted visionary thinking from the corporate elites. I went through an apprentice program, 4 years. Matter of fact, it was one of the premier programs at the time with General Electric. It was a challenging program, and you were proud when you completed it and got your card and your diploma and all of that. And then a guy came along named Jack Welch, who is the guru for many management practices out there today. The first thing he did was kill the GE apprentice programs throughout the country, because he said, we don't need to train the workers here. We can send these jobs off to Taiwan, to China, to Japan, to, as he put it, at a speech in Boca Raton, Florida, the ideal factory would be built on a barge and moored to the docks of the country that paid the cheapest wages. This was an anti-worker effort and mindset, period, whether you're union or not. And we lived through that. And we saw wonderful training programs that were meaningful and beneficial to our nation and society disappear with it. And now today, as we focus on what we do to protect our country and promote our country and provide jobs for our people, now they say, well, we don't have enough workers and we need to train them. Why did we ever stop?
Good point. We're speaking with Tommy Buffenbarger, former general president of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. Speaking of machinists, I'm sure you saw the story about the 5,000 IAM members in District 776 in Fort Worth, Texas, voting recently to ratify a new contract with the largest defense contractor around. We're talking Lockheed Martin. Tom, this was not an easy fight, and it took some members of Congress to speak out about this issue because nothing was getting done. What happened here?
Well, just think about this. Lockheed Martin, the world's largest defense contractor, at its premier site where we build everything from F-16s to F-35s, the latest, greatest fighter plane out there, the F-22s, the most advanced fighter plane ever created. We have great members there who are the epitome of a worker in the defense industry. And here we are at wars across the globe, but one hot one with Iran going on. And you would think we would want to make sure the workers who we depend on to provide all the technology and the weaponry we need to prevail would get a fair shake on a pretty easy basis. But no, it doesn't work that way. Politicians get involved, the Pentagon gets involved, and it's all about pushing it down on the worker, not raising them up. So we had to rely on our friends, some Republicans included in that, but certainly the Democrats, to help us get over the hurdles and get a contract with Lockheed Martin. It's never easy with Lockheed to negotiate, But we make such critical things for our country there that we should be trying to find ways to better promote and pay these workers. It's a great bunch of people down there.
You have to go to the machinist website. You can read about what the workers achieved here. Historic general wage increases, 6%, 4.5%, 4.5%, 4%, then 4%, plus a $6,000 ratification bonus, improvements to retirement. All things happening because of a strong union, no doubt about that. One more here. Faster Labor Contracts Act. This is legislation that did pass the House. And boy, I don't know if you've been watching the conservative backlash on this. The Wall Street Journal editorial board just slammed this piece of legislation, saying it shifts the balance of power to labor unions in collective bargaining, since they know an arbitrator will step in and dictate a settlement if the parties reach an impasse after 120 days. Anybody that's involved in a first contract negotiation knows how difficult it is to get that contract. And this is just basically going to use the powers that are in place to say, okay, enough is enough. Let's get this done. Tom, I want you to chime in on this because you have been in those negotiations over the years. Talk to me about it.
Well, we've had the situation. I want to use as an example something that just occurred relatively recently. Is the IAM organized an Apple store in Towson, Maryland. And it's the workers who fix your iPads and iPhones and sell you the computers, etc. It took over a year, closer to 2 years, to get to a contract because the company kept delaying it. They didn't want to see this store unionized because it might spread. Imagine that. It might spread. And a couple other stores then organized. So it did spread a little bit. And yet the resistance from Apple, it just got stronger and stronger. And so we get a contract, and then they announce we're closing the 3 unionized stores. So there's something wrong with the process that the workers have to wait so long for a little bit of economic justice, and that's all they're asking for. And yet our government and the business community and the Wall Street Journal think that that's okay to delay and drag this out. Well, paying my bill for a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, why, I can't understand why they stop sending it if I don't pay that bill on time. Why can't we negotiate a contract like that? And if you think this is bad in the private sector, God forbid somebody in the air transport industry or the railroad industry, where it takes years to negotiate a contract, that's where we've had one for 100 years. And they drag it out. There has to be some way to address the intended procrastination by management and by big corporations against the workers, providing them a fair and timely way to live, earn a good wage, and provide for their families. And this delay mechanism that's built into all of this needs to go. I don't feel bad for the Wall Street Journal and how they feel. It's about time the workers of America get a fair shake from Congress and from the business world out there.
Let me throw one more example here. Amazon workers, Staten Island, New York, they organized 4 years ago, 2022, still no contract. Perfect example there. Why we need the Faster Labor Contracts Act. It did pass the House. I don't know what's going to happen in the Senate, but we have to keep talking about it, try to make it happen. That's what we do as far as a union movement in America. All right, my friend, you take care. Tom Buffenbarger, our independent labor voice, former general president of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. Go to the website, goiam.org. Lots of good information and videos posted there. You take care. Stay safe. We'll talk to you next month.
Best to all your listeners, Flash, and happy 4th of July.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go to the West Coast and check in with SEIU Local 1021. Once again, you're listening to America's Workforce.
This is America's Workforce. More shows available at awfradio.com.
Founded in 1887, the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters represents the employees responsible for tirelessly constructing and maintaining the national rail system in America. For more than a century, the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees has proven they have what it takes to protect its members and meet the ever-changing challenges of the rail industry. Today, the BMWED continues to fight for job security, fair wages, better benefits, and safer, more modern work environments. For more information, please visit bmwe.org. America's Workforce is presented by the Laborers International Union of North America. Feel the power right now at liuna.org. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the United Steelworkers. You can find more at usw.org. Blue Cross and Blue Shield companies formed out of a need to provide affordable health care to teachers, to loggers, and miners. Back in 1965, the Blues developed the National Labor Office to strengthen its commitment to organized labor. Blue Cross Blue Shield's National Labor Office remains focused on America's workers, advocating for affordable and equitable health care, partnering with strategic alliances to provide industry-leading products and services, and proudly serving more than 18 million unionized workers, retirees, and their families, all working hard for America's working families, for the health of America. You can learn more by following them at Blue Labor on LinkedIn and X, formerly known as Twitter. America's Workforce is brought to you in part by the Communication Workers of America. You can find more at cwa-union.org. This segment of the show is brought to you by the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. For more information, please visit bmwe.org. Are you an experienced mechanical insulator looking to take your career to the next level? Insulators Local 50 in Central Ohio has steady work for a number of years. Insulators Local 50 offers a total wage and benefits package that can't be beat. It's not just the competitive wages. Local 50 also provides medical, vision, and dental insurance with no paycheck deductions for you and your family. Don't miss out on the chance to secure your future. Join us at Insulators Local 50. Earn great pay and the best benefits. Visit insulators50.com/AWF50 to fill out the online form, and a Local 50 representative will call to begin the process.
Now, back to Ed Flash Ferens with America's Workforce.
And remember, you can check us out on Facebook or follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. That would be AWF Union Podcast, AWF Union Podcast. SEIU Local 1021. We have two individuals joining us from that union, and they've got an issue with a school district. This is on the West Coast, Vacaville School District. And I'm reading the story about no contract, no peace. Boy, I've heard those two words many, many times throughout the years. Joining us is Barbra, Lynn Hamilton, and Shelly Martin. Barbra, I understand. Let's start with you, if you don't mind, and thank you for joining us here on America's Workforce. You are the chapter president in the bargaining unit. I understand it's well over 700 members. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what's going on here, and then we'll join in with Shelly. But you first. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate you. Yes, I am the chapter president. I've been the chapter president for 6 years. I've worked here for over 23 years in the school district. We do have over 720 bargaining unit members, and we've been bargaining for over 9-10 months now, and the district refused to bargain after they promised to bargain salary and staffing. We're very short in staffing as well. We decided we needed to fight, and this was going on a year and a half ago. We did the same thing. We had to fight again because the district refused to bargain with us.
So what are they crying poverty here or what? What's the story?
Yes, they are crying poverty. And however, we are ending the year at 31% over budget. But they are crying poverty while they hire more administrators and refuse to hire more staff that works directly with the children.
Gotcha. Let's go to Shelly Martin now. Shelly is a union steward and a paraprofessional. Your role in all of this and some of your background, if you'd Care to share with our listeners?
Yes, thanks for having me. I am a union steward. I've been a steward for about the last 5 years. I've been a paraeducator for 19 out of the 20 plus years that I've worked for the district. I recently became the Solano area rep.
So just to be clear here, your union represents, I'm reading, classified professionals. Are teachers involved in that, or is that a separate union? Can you explain that part?
Sure. Classified is a separate union than teachers. Teachers have CTA, which is California Teachers Association. And in Vacaville, they're called VTA, Vacaville Teachers Association. So we are
Gotcha.
two separate unions. However, we do try and work with them because it benefits both unions to work together to solve the issues of the district.
We've had a number of conversations with the teachers union there, and similar conversations where, things just drag out, and same thing that's happening with you. And I understand they have come to some resolve on the issues, especially wages and benefits. It could always be better. Let's be honest about that. But let's get into the specifics here. Understaffing. How bad is it?
It's become a huge issue, especially when it comes to safety. We're eliminating or freezing the positions that are boots on the ground, I like to call it. The people who completely impact the daily classroom activities, campus safety, while, pumping up what's going on in the district office. For example, like we have student monitors, empty positions, and our workplace violence and incidents have just increased substantially. I think Barbara can help with the amount of that. I don't know the exact numbers. Paraeducators, that's an essential role, especially with our special ed, but it also affects our general ed kids, right? And then when you start eliminating those positions in the classroom and we're not giving them the support that they need, incidents go way up.
Okay, let's tear this apart a little bit. And I saw this in the article about special needs students. They need extra care. Let's be honest about that. And it sounds to me that that's not happening because of the short staffing here. Barbara, maybe you could explain in detail when it comes to the special needs students, what that entails and how they are going to be, or how they're actually being affected right now by the staffing cuts.
Sure. So paraprofessionals are typically one-on-one with students, and their job is to assist the teacher teaching the students daily on daily tasks. Or there are different programs in special ed, different needs. Some of them have behavioral needs, some of them have emotional needs. And then we also have behavior assistants who provide behavior assistant to the paraprofessional and the teacher in the classroom so that the student can focus on learning or can understand, why they're having an emotional breakdown. It's all to support the students who are in crisis mode. If not daily, they're weekly in crisis mode. And our job is to support those students and to help those students. And when they don't fill those positions, and sometimes students get violent because their emotional needs aren't getting met, or they're not having the same kind of counseling that they should have because they're not filling our positions. Now you've got other students and other staff in safety crisis, and the district is not responding to us.
How bad is the violence? I read in one story 67 workplace violence reports filed this year alone. I mean, I don't know what the norm is over there, but obviously with short staffing, this has to be pretty alarming.
So that 67, that number was for last year. This year, we're at 266. And they're only filed if a student or a staff member gets hurt. We've had ambulances come, we've had concussions, we've had stabbings, all kinds of things happening because we are short-staffed and they're not providing the support that the students and our staff needs.
I mean, not only are they not providing, they're discouraging our people from filling out the forms in the first place. So it's taken a couple of years. We just have to keep pushing it. Our outgoing assistant superintendent was discouraging the people from filling out the reports in the first place. So it really isn't even an accurate description to even say that many.
Right.
We've been fighting for months and months and months. We actually have a training at the beginning of the year, and it says all workplace violence must be filled out. And then he puts out information after we have to sign out that we had the training that you may, and it's actually discouraged. especially from some of our behavior teams. So my belief is it's not an accurate number of what's really going on.
It sounds to me that the administrators here, the management, is kind of like turning a blind eye or looking the other way on this whole situation. Would you agree to that right now? I mean, that's an astronomical jump there. And thank you for correcting me, from 67 to well over 200 workplace violence. That's a lot. That's a huge increase here. What are they saying about that?
It is a huge increase, and their response is very lagging. Their response time to any crisis situation for a student. We have what's called, now that we fought on our last contract, a task force. I can call the task force at any moment, and they have to go in and investigate what is going on in that classroom with that student. Why did this injury happen? Why did this physical altercation happen? And they are lagging on that as well.
And with that, they're supposed to investigate it and then put the things in place to stop it from happening again before our students and our people are back into the classroom.
And they're not doing that.
That's failed.
Which is why we are now having a Cal OSHA investigation.
Yes.
Because this is Cal OSHA.
Oh, okay. Exactly. You heard on the job. Yeah, that's what OSHA is all about.
And so now they're investigating the district.
Well, that's good. What kind of media attention, other than this show, obviously, and thank you for reaching out to us, because it's important that the people listening to this show know what's going on in America. I mean, a lot of these things are not covered by the mainstream media. And this is where we fill the gap here. This is where we need your help to inform our listeners so something can be done, so an investigation can be done. We could change this and finally get you a contract that you need and certainly deserve on all this. While all this is going on, okay, you said the contract negotiations started actually at the end of last year, and here we are. It's summertime, and are we making any progress at all? Where do we stand?
So we had to actually go to a strike vote. So we did a strike assessment first to weigh out our members. Are you willing to strike? What's going on? And so we did a strike vote, and it was overwhelmingly yes. We had a board meeting where there was over 200 people, 250. We did an action, and we went to the board meeting, and a lot of people spoke, and I explained to them that we have a strike vote, and it's for yes. So if we are not going to negotiate, then we will strike. And that seemed to change their tune. So the next day, miraculously, they found money. So from 8:00 Thursday night to 9:00 Friday morning, when we went back into negotiations, they miraculously found this, money that came to them somehow, and we were able to negotiate everything we asked for.
So do we have a signed contract now then, or what?
We just signed the contract, yes.
Okay, well, that's good. I understand it. Now, is it just 2 years? Is that right?
Correct. Typically, we do a 2-year contract.
Why is that? Most of the contracts are usually 3, in some cases 4, some cases 5, or they don't want to go that far out?
I don't think we want to go that far out because of the government and what has been going on with the budget over the last, few years. It's kind of up and down, and we don't want to go more than 2 years, because if we do get some kind of a super COLA in 3 years, say, and we've already negotiated, like a 3%, and there's a super COLA like we're having this year for a 6%, we're not going to get that. So we try not to negotiate too far in ahead budget-wise.
The other issue is where you live. That area. I knew I was going to get a couple of grins from you here. I know a lot of people that live on the East Coast and the West Coast. And, I do this show. I'm a lifelong resident of Northeastern Ohio. This is a great place to work because it's very affordable compared to other places. I know we've had many conversations, especially in your state in California, where the people that work in a certain environment, especially if it's like at Los Angeles or San Francisco, they have to live very, very far away because they can't afford to live in the city. That has to be part of what you're going through over there. And it seems like, again, this is something that may fall on deaf ears. They'll say, well, you'll just have to find some other place or move in with somebody else. I don't know what that conversation has been like for you. But that had to enter all these negotiations, has it not?
It did, and I can personally attest to that because I had to move an hour and a half away because I could not afford to live here anymore. So I did that for 3 years. I traveled for 3 hours a day to get to my job. Now I did have to move in with somebody here. I moved back, but I did have to move in with somebody because I can't afford to live here. And I'm actually on the higher spectrum for the salary for the classified here, but it's still not where it should be. We, for years, just didn't get what we were supposed to get. Now we're fighting. Now, when I took over as president, I said, that's it. We're done. We are not agreeing just to agree anymore. We are going to fight for everything we deserve and everything that they've been keeping from us.
I mean, that's a good point, right, Barbara? Because the past couple of years, we've really built up our chapter. But before that, and up until recently, we were like literally about 20% behind on the COLA for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And so I think if we were where we were supposed to be with the COLAs, we'd have a better chance of surviving. It's a matter of building your chapter up and getting that support to get the things that are the COLAs literally passed down to us, right? And then we have to go and beg it from our employers. So it would be a lot different if we were where we should be in terms of matching the COLA.
Well, Barb, it's sad that you had to move closer and move in with somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you think about what the high cost of gasoline right now. That's another factor there. That's if you have an hour and a half commute, 3 hours a day, that sucks up a lot of gasoline. So I get it.
When even our people that live locally are doing 2 and 3 jobs, Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. My other question here is retention. When you have an environment like this, okay, you're working for a set wage, and it's not a whole lot of money. Let's be honest about this.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of money. And then you have to deal with workplace violence. And hopefully the staffing issue now with this new contract is going to be somewhat corrected. I don't know if it's going to get back to where it should be. Maybe you can answer that. But I'm wondering, here I am. I want to be a so-called paraprofessional. I'm going to help the teachers out in the Vacaville School District. But I might get assaulted on the job. You know what? I don't know if I really want that job. And those that have taken that job are probably thinking twice. I would assume that's been going on, right?
Yes, I agree with that 100%. They are thinking twice, especially since our retention is awful. We can't keep the people because some districts around us are making more money. So they're taking our people from us. They're taking our subs from us because our subs are making less than fast food workers. And so we're the lowest point of our salary schedule. Our people were making less than McDonald's workers or, fast food workers. And then the fact of what they're having to deal with every day. And there is, I could get assaulted today. It's not the children's fault. These children have needs and they're in crisis mode. But when the district does not supply the people to support these issues, now you have a problem. Now you have people getting hurt. And they just don't care.
So let's take a look at the whole picture here. And by the way, we're speaking with Barbara Lynn Hamilton, Chapter President, SEIU Local 1021, Vacaville, California, not too far from the San Francisco Napa Valley area. I got to get there one of these days and check out those wineries. One of these days I'm going to do that. I've been saying this on the show. I got to live up to my words here. But the other part of this is, and also joining us is Shelly Martin, who's a union steward and paraprofessional with 1021, powerful union altogether, 66,000 strong. And we've had several conversations with members that are working, behind the scenes, dealing with the city, making sure the lights are staying on and things of that nature. So I appreciate what you do. And these are the unsung heroes. These are the people that glue America together that have fallen by the wayside. They don't get the publicity. That's like I said a couple of minutes ago on the show. It's important that they do get that publicity. That's why we're having this conversation. Now that you took the strike vote, you forced their hand, you got a contract. It's a 2-year contract. How do you feel moving forward? Well, obviously, things could always be better. But what's the game plan now? That 2 years is going to fly by.
It is going to fly by. So I have taken steps. I was doing monthly meetings with the superintendent, and we were also doing what's called meetings with our leadership to try and solve issues before they become grievances or higher issues. We're canceling that because The district is not willing to work with us, so no problem. We're just going to start filing on you. We filed ULPs. We just filed another ULP. And we will just start filing on you until you hear us and listen to us and that you understand. We will fight for our members, and no matter what, I will fight to the death for them because that is what they deserve.
Now I know why you're chapter president. I love that. I love that fight. I love that fight. Shelly, I'm going to give you the last word here. What do you think moving forward?
I agree with my president wholeheartedly. I don't think this is a time to relax just because we've got, a decent sized victory. This is a time to build and move forward. And hopefully we can get some things lined up to where we can share with other school districts. Because if parents really knew what was going on in these classes, as a parent of a special needs kid, I wouldn't send my kid into these classes. And that needs to change, right? That's exactly why I'm here, is for the students. It's not a time to relax. It's a time to pump it up and build on what we've got.
Yeah. Well, the parents deserve better, and certainly the students deserve better. And hopefully we can move the needle in the right direction, especially when more publicity like this show gets to the people in charge. That's what it's all about. Thank you both. You are both saints. You really are. You are doing a lot of good work over there. So keep in touch with us. Barbra Lynn Hamilton, chapter president, SEIU Local 1021, along with Shelly Martin, union steward and paraprofessional. Please stay in touch with us and be safe, okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
And that'll be it for yet another edition of America's Workforce. Coming up on Monday, the Professional Aviation Safety Specialists. And until then, you have a safe and wonderful weekend.
That concludes another episode of the America's Workforce Radio Podcast. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a show. America's Workforce is a production of Labor Tools and BMA Media Group. Find out more information online at labortools.com.